RELAYTO helps anyone who knows how to use PowerPoint or sends PDFs all of a sudden become a magical content creator. They become web designer in seconds.
Hey, welcome back to the Growth is Scaling podcast. This is your host, Todd Westra. You are going to love the interview that we have today. It is a story of growth and scaling that's a little bit unusual because not only is this founder an amazing founder and has built some amazing things in his past before this business, but with this business, he targeted an amazing avatar. That's what I love about this journey. The company is cool. The product is cool. Everything about it is a typical founder's journey. But what's untypical, in my opinion, was the approach he took, the targets that he hit, and he went straight for the enterprise client. That is hard to do. You listening, you're probably like me. You want to kind of grow into bigger clients. What he did was targeted big clients first. Landed some amazing deals, perfected the product with an enterprise level scope of need in mind, and now it's translating down into the everyday solopreneur user. I love this company. I love the founder. Turns out we have a relationship that you'll see at the end of the interview that was surprised both of us when we discovered this common relationship. So jump into this interview. You're going to love what you learn. There are so many lessons in here, and I think you're going to be fascinated. There's a lot of things to learn from this interview. So we will talk to you later, and we'll see you on the flip side of this interview. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Growth and Scaling podcast. Today, we have got a special guest, someone who we have reconnected with through business, even though we have a very, very fun past together in high school. So we're going to jump into this interview like that. Alex, tell us who you are and what does your business do?
Hey, Todd. Alex Shevelenko. I'm a founder and CEO of RELAYTO. And RELAYTO helps anyone who knows how to use PowerPoint or sends PDFs all of a sudden become a magical content creator. They become web designer in seconds. So that's the value prop. We could get into how we do it, but democratizing interactive and web content is sort of the special sauce of what we're doing.
Well, and this is a huge thing, right? Because, I mean, everybody uses PDFs to send a deck or send information and it's boring, it's flat, it's two-dimensional. How are you bringing this to a more colorful way to present your information?
Sure. So, look, the start was the good news. The PDF, everybody knows what it is. Everybody knows how to create it. The bad news is it looks like everybody else's PDF. And so what we decided to do is help people take what you have as a PDF or a PowerPoint and turn it into a website. So what does a website have? It has navigation that's web-like, so you could immediately get to the right bits. It has videos that are embedded inside versus like, you know how you click a video on a PDF and then you go off to YouTube.
Takes you to another browser.
You go off to watch cats or dogs or, playing kids. So you can embed.
I never get stuck doing that.
No, you're good. But the point is that you can enrich it with all the goodness of the web. And it does, the PDF or the PowerPoint is still the base. So if that's what you really want, you can put it out there. Then you could start bundling content into hubs, right? So you have this PDF, that video, that other PDF. So instead of sending 3 attachments and a video link, you kind of bundle it into a kind of experience hub. And then you could share the security, right? Whether it's web-based or you could control like who accesses it. And finally, you get the analytics of actually who's looking at your stuff. Is it working? Did they get on the page 5 and did they actually click on that video? And
did they share it with other people that they were supposed to?
Exactly. So you could really capture the digital body language the way that websites do, like on a consumer side, but we don't really get a chance to understand that in a business side. And sometimes the most important messages that we send out are the worst communicated one, the worst understood. So that's sort of the tragedy of the modern buyer journeys and sellers and marketers that we're trying to fix.
So these are like a microsite, essentially, like an informational site that you're just sharing the information with people. And I'm assuming there's all sorts of cool stuff like templates, and you can like just tweak the intro and send off the right.
Exactly.
I mean, prepare it once, send it out 100 times.
You can personalize it. We have templates of if you don't have your PowerPoint worked out, we have templates of PowerPoints or Google Slides that you could start using, and they're already optimized to look like they're going to be a killer website. And some of them, so they're microsites, but they could be like a flip book, right? Which is like a book reimagined, which is much richer media. It could be an infographic, right? We now do videos, so you could make a static video and make it interactive without thinking, too much about it. Like typically interactive videos are hard to do. So it's a broad range of boring content or same old content that you could transform now to really engage your audience at the end of the day, right? And make sure they have a positive experience and know what they need to get out of that content.
All right, so now I know what you do. Who are you doing this for? And how is it benefiting them? I mean, a lot of people, when they're launching products, they start with really small clients. I mean, from what I gather and from what I see on your site, you're amazing, really big companies with your tech. Who are you working with, and how does this affect the growth of your company?
Yeah, well, we've been very fortunate. We've been backed by great institutions like the Wharton School, and some of our earliest design partners / customers are great companies. They're like Accenture in professional services, Salesforce in tech. And the common thread with companies like this is they were leaders in consumerizing B2B, right? Like Accenture was the first one to do advertising back in the days, right? Salesforce is like Disney for B2B companies, it's like they really create, like kids love their Salesforce toys more than they love their Disney toys. So these are
they love their Salesforce more than their own business sometimes.
So we've been very fortunate, and so we learned from them. We kind of grew with them. We met their needs, and then recently we opened this up, and so now anybody with a great idea can actually bring that idea to life and make sure it has a chance at success in the noisy world. We owe a lot to these large companies, and obviously they start in one place, and because PDFs are everywhere, presentations are everywhere, microsites are everywhere, it sort of spreads and expands across. So that's been our growth story.
That's awesome. I mean, it's not every day you hear people with a business that has clients like that. I mean, enterprise solutions are hard to create and develop because they all have their internal teams. I mean, tell me about this growth journey, because like I said, I mean, the companies you're mentioning, the Salesforces, the Accentures, companies like that, to produce a product that they will actually incorporate and utilize is not an easy chore. How did you determine to create something that they could use, as opposed to starting with a solopreneur and trying to service them and then hopefully grow into that? I'm curious the mindset there.
Yeah, great question. So a couple of things. So one, we bootstrapped at the beginning. So sort of when you're bootstrapping, if you go to solopreneur, you're going to get exactly what solopreneur has, which is nothing, as far as kind of paying you, right? And so then you might get feedback, but it's not gonna pay the bill. So we took a philosophy that we would rather work with small teams in these large organizations, but that they have budget. So they're kind of solopreneurs or small teams or underserved teams inside a larger entity, but they're not starving, and they found a valuable solution that will help. Then you look at the other reason is you look at somebody like Accenture, they are the world's largest user of Microsoft Office.
Right.
Period.
Wow.
Sentence. They are the world's largest reseller of Microsoft Office. Right. And so we love that. Office, right? And also same probably for Adobe platforms, right? So we love these platforms. We are not trying to kill PowerPoint. We're not trying to kill PDF. We help you use the ones that, if you love those tools, if you know how to use them, make the most of it.
Right.
So I think for us, it was very complementary, and we just, saw the big opportunity, and then we paid, it was customer funded growth. And then that was one idea. The second one, kind of what I mentioned, is like, in my past lives, I worked at great companies like SuccessFactors, which became part of SAP and led SAP's cloud journey.
That's cool. That's a big deal. Yeah.
And Salesforce, even I interned at Salesforce when I was at Stanford Business School. And what I learned from there was that having flagship customers that are awesome does help. And so we kind of
totally
we sort of proactively, we didn't do a lot of selling, but we did reach out to Salesforce and Accenture. Hey, do you guys want to use us? First went through their innovation programs. They told us to go mind our business, but we just because we're like little startup, couple guys and an idea. But eventually, like, they saw what we can do, and they've been great innovators.
I love it.
And kudos to them, because the teams that picked it up, they've done really well. They've won awards, and they make us very proud to be on a journey with them, because they're innovators inside these large companies, and these companies want to innovate. Like, I think hats off to both of them. They're despite their scale, they're in some ways they're more innovative than much smaller companies. So we don't want to, like, we don't believe it's like large companies are not innovating. I think they want to do it. So we've been just fortunate.
You bring up a really good point, and I think that a lot of founders kind of forget this, the fact that you've got these behemoth companies like Accenture who are staffed with normal people, right? Like, we have this image in our mind, but we're a startup and we're like looking at these huge companies. We seem to think that everyone there is a giant, and somehow they're smarter than us. They know better than us. They've got better tools than us. And the reality is they're just people trying to pull levers to move that business, right?
Yeah, you mean, imagine organizations like that, right? Like they have to work a lot internally, and just to get attention there. But I will tell you this, that like they are disciplined in terms of security, and so we had to take a lot of attention in our early development to make sure we have enterprise grade security architecture that passes the necessary requirements for companies that sell security solutions, or like Salesforce is the largest cloud vendor. So they, like, cloud security is a big deal for them. So we were very fortunate to also that they took us through a journey of like passing their security requirements. So, like, I think I wouldn't recommend this for everybody, but if you kind of identify that you have innovative people, they use a lot of slides and whatever, like in our case, and we are a team solution that worked well with an enterprise. So we didn't need to go sell to the CIO of Accenture on day one.
Right.
That helped, right? Like, but eventually, this goes up, right? Like, and so that's the exciting thing about kind of no code platforms, is you could start with individuals and teams.
Right.
And then over time,
and they just kind of share it out with other people.
Yeah. They spread out.
How did you do that?
How did we do that?
No. I mean, like, you share it with one or two people on a team, and all of a sudden the other team members how did you do that? That is so cool. How did you do that?
Exactly. That helps when you have creative customers, right? And then they start getting internal recognition, and so we're getting getting people like, hey, I want to get recognized too, or something like, it's psychological, right? Like
100%.
I want, like, people want to say, hey, I have a competitive advantage when I go into my important meeting, or I'm going into my biggest event of the year. Am I going to wear my suit from 1989 Sammamish High School freshman year prom?
Probably
or
not.
am I going to wear something that's modern, right? That fits me, that like improves my chances in the game of life and work.
Totally.
And so, like, we're basically, people kind of start thinking, oh, well, this is a competitive advantage. This is kind of not a burden. This is something that's going to help my project, my
100%.
company time. And our customers care about their customers, right? They want you. So they like, it sort of starts, it's very much, I want you to have a great experience engaging with it. Unfortunately, because of COVID and the way the world is, we can't go and take you out and buy you steak and, and have a lot of nice red wine and convince you that we're awesome.
Totally.
Let's start with something substantive. But how do we make that substantive experience feel interesting, natural, high end to a degree, like reflects our value?
And I want to dive in just a little deeper into this, because I think that what you did to grow your business is so different than the way most people are trying to grow and scale the business. And that is, you really understood that your initial avatar, your client persona that you were going for was enterprise. Like, I think that when you start at enterprise and you build a structure around their requirements, it makes it so much easier to taper down, as opposed to starting with small guys who have no requirements and then building up into an area that does require more work. I mean, in a sense, that's really the hard route. But now that you've gotten past that,
now it's easier. But I think it was very hard. And Todd, like, I think the credit should go to our development team, because they've architected it so it would be sufficiently easy to use for anybody, right? A unit of one in an enterprise, but it would still like meet the enterprise requirements.
I think
that's not the way most people approach it. They start with, like you said, solopreneurs, and then, so we always knew that the way we could grow this business is in a similar way that, something like Slack grows, right? Or Airtable, like that, it would just kind of start spreading, and then eventually, like, if you look at where the revenue for those businesses is, it's not in SMB, it's in the enterprise segment. But the way to grow, the way to succeed in the enterprise is actually to create an awesome experience for individual. And I think that's what a lot of people miss, right? They think the way to succeed as an enterprise is to hire a bunch of expensive reps that, have 300K on target earnings, and, and then like use their relationships and do dinners and like, it's nothing wrong with that for some solutions.
It does work for some solutions,
right? Like you gotta find like what's the immediate value that you could get. Oh, well, I'm gonna succeed with my most important project because I'm not gonna look like a douchebag that talks about digital transformation but shows up with a PDF piece of paper, which is analog paper, right? And say, I'm gonna show you the way of digital transformation. It is gonna be amazing. Follow me,
Totally.
I'm gonna fax this to you afterwards. I'm gonna fax it to you just to make sure you get it, right? Like, I mean, this is silly,
dude. It is silly.
Yeah.
No, it's silly, and I love the fact that you're when I go to your website RELAYTO.com, you go there and you've got this the first option is an interactive presentation, and it is like full of explosion and excitement, and it's like, okay, wait, I thought I was coming here to like fix up my presentation. And I think it's rad. I mean, I think it's so cool how you are practicing what you're preaching right now. And for those listening, like, I got to tell you, for those who are trying to build and scale their business, there's a lot of ways to grow and scale your business. But think of yourself with the most perfect client you could have. An enterprise client is not for everybody, but for this, it's a perfect client. Start there. Fit the match your product for what your perfect client would look like and want and need, and it's much easier to grow down. I think that you've just demonstrated in just a few minutes, proper growth and scaling tactics are to attack your dream client first, then taper it down and dumb it down for the people that are great clients, but they're not your dream client. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think, Todd, what we're learning is we're evolving, right? And we've been very surprised by, maybe like commercialization. It's obviously larger clients mean more revenue. But I think, the beauty of something that's fundamental to human nature and to business, which is communication, is like all of us have to do this. So I'm not even any more sure that a mid-size organization or is no longer a dream client because they're savvy, they know some tools already, and they just onboard really quickly, and they go create great things, and then they go sell to the enterprises or some other people, and those people go, "What is that amazing thing that a tiny startup is pitching us that we don't have ourselves?" And that sort of we fortunately, because of the viral nature of what we're building, we love all sorts of clients, right? Like whether it's a nonprofit was a great cause that makes our team, just super motivated and work harder to enable folks like that, all the way to businesses in the world.
Well, hit me with your biggest challenge, because we've talked about the fun of the growth of your business. Talk to us about the hurdles you've had to hit. One in particular. What's been the hardest thing about getting your business to this level where you're at right now?
Well, look, I think you've heard that we bootstrap, right? And I think when you are somebody that is like me, where I had been at a company that went public before and as an early employee, so like I could have raised the money, and yet I made the choice to bootstrap it, work with the customers, take the longer route. I think that was not the obvious choice. It feels very smart now that the startup funding market is imploding, but at the time, that was counterintuitive. That we raised some money from strategic, advisors and CEOs of other cloud companies, but it was sort of relatively small compared to what we could have done or what other folks were doing. But that challenge forces us to be like very nitty and like very gritty, work on the product, be scrappy and resourceful. And I wouldn't trade that culture for nothing. But like back to our, connection on high school, like I was fresh off the boat immigrant, but the one thing so that's kind of endurance in itself. Like, how do you go through this? But what I remember is like, I was, barely spoke English, and I joined the high school wrestling team, and I was not the best athlete, but I got the award for the one that is the most endurant, the one that sticks. I think that was sort of that determination, and
that's a bootstrapper right there.
So I think that so I have to thank, I have to thank that for that challenge. And then on the longer term thing, right? So speaking of high school, like we're just kind of joking before the call. So what else did we learn? Well, I mean, somebody when I was just kind of saying, hey, I want to go to a good university, they told me you need to show leadership skills. Right. And I was like, well, I was just barely spoke English, but what did I know? And I knew how to play chess, so I became a president of the chess club, at Sammamish.
Natural
leadership role,
Everybody in the school looked at the chess club.
The rest of high school, I was not the best player, but I think it does learn to see, like when you play chess, you do see the long game, right? You have to react in the moment, but you have to kind of play it out. And I think that eventually towards the end of high school, I did figure out how to be a real leader and other things, but it was sort of the ability to see the long game and kind of see a couple steps ahead, what's going to happen ahead of the curve. That allowed us to make that decision. All right, well, let's go kind of, we always think about consumerizing, but can we monetize with real customers and real pain points that they have that they're willing to pay money for? Yeah.
Well, I love that. And that's some great advice. And honestly, I think the lesson that you learn from chess is, you could be in this battle with somebody just moving your pawns back and forth, and all of a sudden you recognize they slip up, and then you have an opportunity, right? I mean, you have, and I'll just say this, we went to high school together, and when we were in high school and you were fresh off the boat, I remember how scrappy and innovative and eager you were to kind of join this new American culture you were part of. And to see you now, 30 years later, as someone who has taken the time to go through these other business growth journeys and build businesses and be part of such an exciting movement, and have the vision to say, you know what? I grew up in such a different place, and now here I am selling products and services to multi-billion-dollar organizations. How cool is that? Like, what advice do you give to people who are out there thinking there's no way that my future has this in it? What do you tell people like that?
Well, that's interesting. So for context, I was born in Ukraine, in Kiev, which is newsworthy right now, but at the time was not at all. And what I have to say, well, I think it's one of the magic of America and like the industry in America, and where kind of I got the spirit of as an immigrant, is that everything is possible if you early to bed, early to rise, work your butt off and evangelize or build your product or whatever it is, right? Like you kind of gotta, you kind of everything, like I think there is that spirit that comes. But I also would say, like if somebody told me like at that age, right? Like, hey son, you're gonna be, living between London, Paris, and San Francisco, but working with great companies that work, building technology that reimagines the book, which for a geek like me is pretty cool. Right, we're reimagining the long form content. You're gonna be married to a French lady. Like I would have never, like Samebish didn't have that. Like in the
that wasn't in the goal book.
Wasn't in the plan, right? Like and so I would have said Papa, which is Russian or Ukrainian for father, like Batko is in the Ukrainian. Like I said, like put down the vodka. This is not possible. This is what happened. But it's life was unpredictable, and I think staying open is sort of part of the being what entrepreneurs need to do, right? Like have a plan, but can be adaptable. I think it's
adaptable is key.
The world is different now, right? So the beauty of running a business globally wasn't a real option, back then. So I think we just, my advice is going to be more limited now, right? Other than, don't constrain yourself, right? Like the world is.
Don't limit your own self, right?
Yeah. Just be out there and like meet great people like you, Todd, and, be open. And, I admire your parental capacity mixed with entrepreneurial capacity, so I need to take lessons from you. Like how do you do that? That's the most important thing for me, because my kids are not at all impressed with anything of the stuff that we talked about, right? Like they're like,
I know, right?
How good of a dad are you, right? Like that's sort of the real question of like, so I think that's the stuff that I'd say, entrepreneurial journey is not somehow separated from some journey. And,
agreed.
We need to be
the entrepreneurial journey is your life journey, right? I mean, everything's a part of it.
Part of it, yeah. It's like,
it's Alex, who do you look at in your journey? Like, who do you look at in your network as you try to get things off the ground and build your business? Is there someone that you have in your network that kind of inspires you to keep it going?
Well, I've been, super blessed. Being bootstrapped, there were kind of few folks that helped us before we even knew what we were doing, and one of them was Aaron Au, kind of co-founder and CTO of SuccessFactors, where I kind of grew up professionally in the SaaS business. But what I'd say most recently, we've been very blessed to work with Dean Stoker, who is the founder and CEO of Alteryx, and he bootstrapped Alteryx to a public company that was a public CEO, and
awesome.
They democratized data, and we're democratizing digital experiences, and so we're learning a ton from him, and so it's been
I love it
to have inspirational leaders on the journey. I think that's been a real gift.
I love it. Well, we're going to tag him in the post, and for those listening, I hope you picked up a lot of the stuff that I did. There's a lot of background that Alex and I have together that we have not connected. To be totally honest, I don't think we've connected in 30 years since we graduated. But I will tell you right now, the journey that I've seen and the sparkle in your eye when you talk about your business and your growth and your family and all these things, real growth is possible. When you're trying to grow and scale a business, it sometimes feels like you're never going to get there. You're never going to get that break. You're never going to get that connection that ties you into that dream client. It is possible. And Alex and I have both lived this vision in our lives. And I would just say, for those that are aspiring to grow and scale their companies, look out. Look for people who have been there. As he mentioned, his shout outs, there's always someone that's 10 steps ahead of you. Don't be afraid to ask them, hey, how can I shortcut this journey? How can I get from here to there faster? And you'll be surprised how many people who are as passionate as Alex and I are and sharing with you our journey and how you could shortcut a few errors that we make along the way. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely. And on the Dean Stoker example, he has an amazing book out, which I recommend everybody reads. It sort of takes the whole journey, an emotional journey, human journey, exactly what we were talking about, Todd. It's a great practitioner, philosopher of building at least a software-driven business. Right. If you're into that, as I am, but I couldn't recommend it higher.
Awesome.
On great insights, Todd. I think I should be interviewing you next time.
I think maybe next time we'll do that. But thank you, Alex, so much for being here. It's been great to reconnect. And I hope this episode does impact some people's lives, and I think it will. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you guys next time on the Growth and Scaling Podcast.
Awesome. Thank you, Todd. Great to reconnect.
All right. Who'd have thought that 30 years after high school, you run into somebody who had an impact on your life then? I remember Alex in high school, and he was an amazing immigrant. Lots of immigrants in the Seattle area, but I remember specifically his ability to become Americanized and to jump off from travel from Ukraine as a high school student, jump into our network and into our world and into our society, and look at what he's done in 30 years. Amazing growth, amazing journey, and I'm so proud of Alex and his business and his family. He had a lot of stuff going for him. For those of you on a growth and scaling journey, trying to figure out where you're going to go in your business, one of the first things you got to do is what Alex did. Know your avatar. Know the type of persona that you are trying to build your product around, and go for it. I love that he bootstrapped, because it drives you to quicker action to make sure that your product is delivering what your ideal client wants. He did this. He grew the business, and now he's on his way through a great trajectory of growth and scaling. You can't beat the story. You can't beat the product. I've done some demos. I'm looking into using it and trying to figure out ways to incorporate it into my business. I am far from an enterprise level user, but this is the beauty of what he did. Develop for enterprise and then downscale it to users like me and you who have smaller organizations. Even with a team of 30 or 40 like me, we're able to adopt and build and grow off of what he's built. Love this story. I hope you grab some nuggets out of this interview. Follow Alex on social media and learn what he's doing, and go take a demo. Go take a test drive of his product. You're going to love it at relayto.com, and links are in the bio in the show notes. Share this with someone that needs to hear it. Whether it's an immigrant story, whether it's a startup story, or just a client avatar story, doesn't matter. This has a lot of lessons on a lot of levels. Hope you enjoy it. We'll see you on the next episode.